What is up? What is up? So, we're gonna go over pretty much your basic Gangplank combos. Now, with that being said, this is pretty simple, um, but it's tricky. There's a lot of things that people don't necessarily know that you can do on Gangplank. So I want to go through and pretty much show you guys like all the tips and tricks that I've kind of picked up over all of the different times like I've played. Um, it can make a pretty substantial difference. So first off, it's always going to recommend you start Q. Don't. Don't start Q. It's the wrong thing to do. You always start E. If you can get into like this bush here or this first bush, unless you're playing against like a Darius with Ghost or something that's just gonna like heavy trade into you, or like a Riven that can kill you level 1, you can get into these bushes and then pretty much what you're doing is you're setting up a barrel here, and the reason why you're setting up a barrel here is because then if we take a enemy dummy, right, and let's say that this person walks up and they can't see you in the bush, right? So you're standing here, you auto, barrel, auto, and that's a total of 417 damage right off rip. So you can pretty much take somebody down to like no health right at the beginning of laning phase if you get in the right position. Now, we're kind of going to move on to some of the next stuff. So the other thing you want to watch out for, I'm just going to level up to 18 because it doesn't really matter what level you're at, you can do all of these things. I just want the cooldowns and things to be a little bit faster. So one thing that you hear all the time with GP mains is there's something called a one part. Now the one part is pretty much where you just put out a barrel and then we place a second barrel and then we shoot, right? It's pretty simple, it's whatever. But the more impressive one part, which is where you're just stringing together two barrels, is what's called a ghost barrel. So a ghost barrel is you have to be outside of your Q range. Now you can only do these diagonally. I'll show you one diagonal, and then I'll show you one where it's also, let me auto refresh my cooldowns here, where it's also horizontal. So what happens is you Q towards the barrel and then spam your E. And the reason why you do that is because, but you have to do it after the Q command goes in. Now what happens is, if you shoot at the max range of your E here, or your Q rather, and then I drop the barrel, you'll see what happens here. Q goes in, it immediately pops up the second barrel, and it explodes. So it makes it so that people can't really counter the play. So if I set up a barrel here, and I'm trying to poke someone here, I can walk up, and there's no dodging it. Oh, I fat fingered my flash. I'll do it again. So like, let's say someone's under tower, right? So that's not a very good one. We'll get rid of this one. So let's say someone's under tower. So I put the barrel here, right? I can walk up to this barrel and do that, right? And as long as they don't focus this first barrel, it's almost guaranteed damage because there's no time to react of when the second barrel comes out. Now the other one you'll see pretty commonly is you'll set up a barrel, and like I said, you can do this diagonally too. So that would have been diagonal. The horizontal one that's really tricky is, and really nice in lane, is you put a barrel right in there, right? We're right on the edge of our Q range here. So I can stand here, and then when someone walks up to farm, like let's say they walk up, the wave is here, they come up to get these casters, we just go out and immediately get a free barrel on them. And they don't even see it coming, because the Q animation goes into this bush, and then this barrel just blows up on top of them. From their perspective, they don't see it coming at all. Now, the other thing you're going to learn is called a three-part. Now, a three-part is where we pretty much put two barrels, right? And you can space them out. It's really up to you how long it is. But what we're doing is we're placing the third barrel right at the edge of our range up here. Now, the reason we're doing that is because now, and if you're standing in the middle of the barrels, you can get even a little more extra range. Now, the reason you're doing that is because it allows you to get extra, extra range out of your barrels. So pretty much you would be here. I recommend to be like kind of in the middle of your barrels. It's almost like a two-part. And this is fun because what it can do is you can set it up to where you can do a lot of fun things. You can get like here, attack out there. You can get here, and then you can loop it back. Oh, unless you mess up. So you can get here, and then you can walk to the middle. You can loop it back that way. So you pretty much have the ability to, when you're doing a three-part, you have the ability to shoot it here, here, and here, which gives you a really big wide zone of control so that you don't know where it's coming from. You can also set it up in a way to where, like, let's say, oh, I'm running towards this person, but the jungler's ganking me, and I'm going, and then you drop it back behind you, right, to hit the jungler and then turn around and run out, right? So you can zone people in two different directions. Now, the other thing that you're going to see most often that Gangplanks talk about, especially Gangplank mains, is your passive management. So if we're talking about like how to burst someone as fast as possible, well, actually, I'll show you one more one part, which is pretty important. So with a one part, you can actually, so when I get to the edge of my Q range, right about here, this there's a little gap if you see it right at the top of this barrel. Now the reason that's important is if I'm running and I'm chasing someone down is I can go here and I can drop a barrel to get just a little extra range with my one part to try and chase the person down. Now it's right, pretty much when you do this, you have to place it right on the edge of the first barrel. So you're running towards it, you Q, and then you have to drop the E, and you get an extra extended range. Now the range is only gonna be this far, but if someone's running away from you, that can make all the difference in securing the kill. Now, majority of what you're going to do, if you're running somebody down or we're going to one-shot somebody, is you're going to set up a single barrel, right, attack where you're going to go in. Maybe it's a ghost barrel or not. Silly. So let's say that it's a ghost barrel, right? We're going to go in here. We're going to hit him with that. Then immediately you're going to drop your second barrel and you're going to hit it because the slow is almost, what is it again? It's, reading, slowing for 60% for 2 seconds. So when we hit this first barrel, unless they flash, they can't get away. Now, if you wait for your cooldowns, you're going to miss the second barrel combo. I should say second barrel combo. So first barrel combo is we execute here, then they're running away, we move up here, we hit them, and then we auto them, and they should be dead. You have your Q, you have your ult. If they flash away, you can finish them off that way. But it's very, very hard to get away from that combo in the late game. Now, if we're talking like maximum DPS here and everything, out of a bush, what you can do is we can do the same thing that we did earlier, but what you're gonna do is you're gonna Q, auto, place the barrel, auto, auto. And what that does is, like, that's 1500 damage without, you know, any items, and that's, you're getting 2 procs of your passive, so 2 true damage ignites pretty much. You're getting 2 195 physical damage ignoring armor from your barrels with that stacked on your 262 parlay, and then your whatever your AD is, right, for your other auto. Now I'll show you what that looks like when we have full items here, and you'll probably see why GP late game, if you scale correctly, can be so oppressive. I'll go over item builds, or the item builds I prefer, in another video later on. It kind of varies by game. It's not always going to be the same thing. But let's just say we're building this game. Okay, so we can drop a target dummy here. Excuse me. And I will show you. Oh, put it too close to the fountain. There we go. So I'll show you what we were kind of talking about while we were going over the combos. So we go here. Oh, or we're bad. Redo, redo, redo. Okay, so we go here, hit him there, and then ideally we would try and hit him with that. I messed it up again. I don't want to make this look like more powerful than it is in terms of execution of the actual combos. So you would go here, then you would go here, and then if you can catch him, auto, and then finish him off with a Q. That's 5,638 damage total with that combo. You should be able to one-shot pretty much anybody in a 1v1 in a side lane. Now, if you're playing in a team fight, and let's say that we're just zoning, right? And we hit the first one, and then we hit the second one, that's still 2,700 damage. Almost 2,800 damage, right? And that's not guaranteeing full crit. If we were to, say, sell this GA, and let's just buy, a Mortal Reminder or whatever, and let's see what it would be, in a team fight with. See, now the reason that didn't work, I wasn't standing on the max range of my Q. If you place the barrel and you Q it, but you're not at the max range, where you give the Q time to travel, then you can't do a one part, right? So with full crit, that goes from 2,800 to 3,300. It's almost an extra 500 damage. So this is why late game with GP, you can see him just absolutely destroying people. And then if they do happen to get away and you're running Collector, just drop it down on him. I mean, you're still going to be doing, right? Like, you can see how much damage it can do. I mean, that's obviously happening partially because the Collector is proccing on the dummy. But, I mean, you're talking about a max of 1,200 damage over the course of 12 waves, right? And 200 magic damage over the course of 1 second is nothing to scoff at in terms of executing somebody below 10, or I believe it is, yeah, below 5% health. So that's a quick Gangplank combo guide. I apologize if I'm a little rusty with the one parts. I don't usually do them as much as a lot of other Gangplank players. But they can be very, very useful, especially in tricky situations like the bush up here, or if you're trying to zone off a jungler or anything like that. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.